baker went to make a special delivery, but what she discovered changed her life. Emily had everything she ever dreamed of: a loving family, a successful bakery, and a peaceful life, until the day a simple cake delivery changed everything. That morning, what seemed like an ordinary order hid a devastating truth. It was a typical sunny morning in Greenfield, with golden rays of light streaming through the thin kitchen curtains. Emily Thompson, already awake before dawn, moved quietly around the house. She knew that her husband, Michael, and her daughter, Lily, were still sleeping, and she made sure not to make any noise that might wake them. Her movements were precise and silent, a routine she had mastered over the years. The smell of fresh coffee mingled with the aroma of bread she had baked earlier. Emily loved these moments of peace, where the morning's quietness contrasted with the hustle that would soon fill the day. Her focus was on a large birthday cake that needed to be delivered that day, a last-minute order she had gladly accepted. It was for the 3rd birthday of a boy named Lucas, and the theme chosen by his mother, Claire, mixed cars and dinosaurs, which Emily found curious but creative. As she put the finishing touches on the cake, she heard light footsteps behind her. Michael entered the kitchen, still in his pajamas, and wrapped her in a hug from behind. He kissed her forehead, his usual gesture, but this time she felt a slight distance in him. "Good morning, love," he said with a sleepy smile. "All set for the big day?" "Almost done," she replied, adjusting the final detail on the cake. "I just need to load the cake into the car and head to the party." Michael grabbed a cup of coffee and looked at her, his eyes more observant than usual. "Are you worried about this delivery?" "It's a new house," Emily admitted with a shrug. "I've never been there before, and since it's a big party, I want to make sure everything goes well." "You always work magic with these cakes," he said, trying to reassure her. "I'm sure it will be amazing. Just send me a picture before you go." She nodded, but there was something about Michael's demeanor that left her feeling uneasy. He was about to leave for a business trip, and they always made sure to spend as much time together as possible before any separation, but that morning, the connection felt weakened. That feeling of discomfort was interrupted when Lily appeared in the kitchen, rubbing her sleepy eyes. "Mommy, can I see the cake?" Emily smiled, lifting her daughter into her arms. "Of course, sweetheart, but only after you finish your breakfast, okay?" As little Lily settled at the table, Emily had no idea how much that ordinary morning was about to drastically change her life. She sighed, picking up the cake box and mentally preparing herself for what she thought would be just another normal day. Bakery, Emily's Delights, was already filled with aromas when Emily arrived early that morning. The birthday cake was carefully packed. She had spent hours the previous night meticulously shaping cars and dinosaurs, and now she was satisfied with the result. Claire's order, Lucas' mother, had been challenging, but Emily always prided herself on exceeding her clients' expectations. She picked up the phone and called Josh, the employee who was supposed to help load the cake into the delivery van. To her surprise, he answered with a weak voice. "Emily, I can't come today. I'm really sick." Emily felt her stomach churn. "What? Josh, today is the big delivery. We can't delay this." "I know, I'm really sorry. I have a fever and can barely get out of bed. Maybe Sarah can help you." Sarah, her manager, appeared upon hearing the conversation. "I can help you, Emily. Don't worry, we can take the cake together. You don't have to do this alone." For a moment, Emily considered the offer, but something inside her made her hesitate. "Thank you, Sarah, but I'll make the delivery myself. I want to make sure everything goes perfectly." She knew she could trust Sarah, but her perfectionism took over. This delivery was too important to risk. Emily took a deep breath, carefully organized everything, and double-checked the address for the party. The house was in a wealthy neighborhood in town, a place where she rarely made deliveries, which made her feel slightly uneasy. The drive to the location was smooth, but inside, she felt a growing sense of unease. As she drove through the tree-lined, well-kept streets, her thoughts drifted back to Michael. Something about his behavior that morning had bothered her. Maybe it was just nerves about the business trip, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. When she arrived at the imposing mansion, decorated with colorful balloons and a large "Happy Birthday, Lucas" banner, Emily parked the car and began unloading the cake. Claire, the birthday boy's mother, appeared smiling, delighted by what she saw. "Emily, the cake is perfect. My son will love it," Claire said enthusiastically. "I'm glad you like it," Emily replied, trying to hide the nervousness she still felt. "I hope it's exactly what he imagined." As they chatted, Claire casually mentioned, "Oh, my husband is a big fan of your cakes. He's looking forward to meeting you." Emily smiled politely, but she felt a slight chill at hearing those words. She didn't know why, but something inside her already sensed that this delivery wouldn't be as simple as she had imagined. Emily followed Claire to a more secluded area of the garden, where some parents were chatting while children played excitedly around them. Everything seemed calm and harmonious, but when Emily lifted her eyes and saw who was among the guests, her world stopped. There, standing beside other parents, talking and laughing carefree, was Michael, her husband, the same man who, just hours before, had kissed her and told her he was leaving on a business trip. He held a glass of wine and looked completely at ease, as if he were among friends. Emily felt the ground disappear beneath her feet. "Michael!" Claire called out cheerfully, unaware of the tension in Emily. "Come meet Emily, the amazing baker I've been telling you about." Michael turned slowly, and when his eyes met Emily's, the smile vanished from his face. He froze, standing still. For a long moment, they exchanged looks that said much more than any words could. The silence between them was deafening. Emily couldn't breathe. Her heart raced, and her mind spiraled into a whirlwind of confusion and pain. How could he be there? How could he have lied so blatantly? All the promises, the moments of happiness, now they all felt false. She didn't know whether to confront Michael right there in front of everyone or just run away. "Emily, are you okay?" Claire asked, noticing the change in her expression. I'm fine," Emily replied, her voice trembling. "I just need to adjust a few things on the cake. Excuse me." She walked away as quickly as her trembling legs would allow. Back at the table where she had been finishing the cake, Emily tried to keep her hands steady, but her whole body was shaking. Michael had another life, another family, and she had no idea how long he'd been lying to her. Emily fought to control her breathing as she adjusted the final decorations on the cake. Every movement felt heavy, as if the weight of the world was on her shoulders. Her fingers trembled, and the pain in her chest grew with each passing second. The image of Michael laughing with another woman, as if nothing had happened, was etched in her mind. She needed a moment to breathe, to process what had just happened. Sarah, who was helping her, noticed her agitation. "Emily, are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." "I'm fine," Emily replied, trying to sound convincing. "I just need a minute." She stepped away from the cake and went to a secluded corner of the garden, where she could breathe without being seen. Her heart was in pieces. Michael, the man she loved and had built a life with, had been living a lie. Every memory they had shared now seemed distorted, a shadow of what she thought was real. How could he do this? How could he lie to her and to Lily? Emily felt tears welling up, but she couldn't break down here, in the middle of a party. She had to be strong, at least until she got home. As she tried to calm her mind, Claire returned, completely unaware of Emily's internal turmoil. "Emily, the cake is beautiful. You've exceeded all my expectations. Can I take a picture of you next to the cake?" Emily forced a smile. "Of course," she replied, her voice more controlled than she felt. Posing for the photo was almost torture, but she kept her composure. As soon as it was over, she made a quick excuse, saying she needed to return to the bakery. Once she was finally in the car and alone, she let the tears fall. How could Michael do this to her? To Lily? Everything she thought she knew about her life now felt like a lie. As she drove home, her thoughts revolved around one question: what would she do now? How would she confront Michael? She knew she needed answers, but above all, she knew she had to protect her daughter from this devastating truth. When Emily arrived home, she was emotionally exhausted. She sat at the kitchen table, where she had shared so many happy moments with Michael and Lily, and stared into the distance, trying to organize her thoughts. How had she ended up here? How could someone she loved so deeply betray her so brutally? Emily felt as if her heart was shattered, and all she wanted was an explanation that made sense. She sat there, motionless, until she heard the front door open. Michael had returned. He walked into the kitchen with a smile that quickly disappeared when he saw Emily's face. His bags were packed by the table, and her tear-swollen eyes reflected the chasm that now existed between them. "Emily," Michael began, but she raised her hand to stop him. "I saw you today," she said, her voice firm but quiet. "I saw you at the party. With your other family." Michael froze, as if he had been punched. "Emily, I can explain." "Explain?" Emily's laugh was bitter and filled with pain. "You think you can explain how you've been lying to me, to our daughter, for all these years? How do you explain having another family, Michael? Another woman? Another child?" Michael took a step toward her, but she backed away. I made a mistake. Terrible mistake. I didn't want to hurt you or Lily. I was afraid of losing you both. I don't know what to do now." "Afraid?" Emily stared at him in disbelief. "You destroyed our family. What do you think is going to happen now?" "Emily, please." Michael sounded desperate. "Think about Lily. Think about what this will do to her." "I am thinking about her," Emily replied, tears finally spilling over. "And that's why you're going to leave this house. You're leaving tonight, and you're not coming back." Michael tried to argue, but the look in his eyes showed that he knew he had lost. He silently picked up his bags, while Emily stood still, unmoving. As she heard the door close behind him, she collapsed onto the kitchen floor, hugging her knees, feeling the weight of the betrayal crush her. But even in the midst of the pain, she knew she was making the right decision. Not for her, but for Lily. Days that followed were strange and quiet. The house, once filled with laughter and conversation, now felt empty. Michael was gone, and Emily was trying to figure out how to move forward. Lily was staying at Emily's sister Jane's house, still unaware of the truth about her father. Emily knew she would have to tell her eventually, but for now, her focus was on creating a safe and loving environment for her daughter. The pain of betrayal was still intense. Emily spent her days at the bakery, trying to distract herself with work. The cake she had delivered at that fateful party had been a success, and Claire sent a message the next day, thanking her for the wonderful cake, unaware of what had transpired between Emily and Michael. Despite her professional success, Emily couldn't escape the loneliness during the quiet nights. When she lay in bed, the empty space beside her was a constant reminder of Michael's betrayal. The memories of the moments they shared, the promises he had made, now felt like illusions, and she wondered how she had been so blind. One day, while Emily and Lily were making cupcakes together in the kitchen, the little girl finally asked, "Mommy, why isn't Daddy here anymore?" Emily froze, feeling her heart tighten. She knew this moment would come, but she still wasn't prepared. She took a deep breath and looked into Lily's eyes. "Sweetheart, Daddy and I had a very big problem. He did something wrong, and now we need to be apart for a while." Lily looked at the cupcakes, processing her mother's words, then asked with her big, curious eyes, "Is he coming back?" Emily held back tears and smiled, trying to stay strong. "I don't know, my love. But what I do know is that no matter what happens, I will always be here for you. Always." And with those words, Emily felt a small part of herself begin to heal. She knew the journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but she also knew she had the strength to face whatever came. With her daughter by her side, Emily knew that the love between them would be enough to create a new beginning, a future where they could both be happy, despite the pain of the past.